Students, we have already discussed the warming up exercise in part 1 video. Now, in this part of the lecture, we shall discuss about the chapter. So, let's turn to page number 6. Dick Whittington and his cat. There was once a poor boy called Dick Whittington who lived in a small village in the south of England. He had no proper home, for both his parents had died, and he was unkindly treated by many of the villagers. There was a poor boy named as Dick Whittington, and he lived in a small village called as in south of England. He had no home to live. He had no parents, as his parents had died, and he was ill-treated, unkindly treated by many of the villagers. One day Dick overheard someone say that the streets of London were paved with gold, and he decided that he would go there at once and pick up his fortune in gold pieces from the streets, for he thought people might treat him more kindly if he were rich. Then one day he overheard someone saying that the streets of London were paved with gold, and so he decided to go to London and pick up his fortune. So he thought of going to London, and he thought that if he becomes rich, people will treat him very kindly. So young Dick set out to walk to London. He had not gone far when a man in a cart stopped and asked him if he was running away from home. "I have no home," Dick answered. "I am on my way to London to find my fortune." So Dick decided to walk to London. So he had gone. As he walks, a man saw him in a cart, and he stopped him and asked him whether he was running away from his home. Then he replies to that person that he wanted to go to London to find his fortune. "I am going to London myself," said the carter. The carter tells him that he is also going to London, and he asks him to join so that both of them can travel together. They arrived in London just before nightfall, and the carter left Dick and made his way to an inn. Poor Dick stood alone and looked around him in dismay. Dismay means shocked and disappointed. So, inn means inn means a house providing accommodation, food and drink, especially for travelers. The people who travel, they provide him, or a house is there which provides accommodation, food as well as drink. So both of them travels together, and as they reach London, the carter leaves Dick and he makes his way to an inn. Dick stood alone and looked around him in dismay. Where was all that fine gold? All he could see were dirty streets and lots of unfriendly people. So as he gets down, he sees that he doesn't see the gold over there, fine gold over there, but all he sees the dirty streets and lots of unfriendly people. He had nowhere to sleep, and in the end he spent the night in the corner of an alley. Alley means a narrow passage or lane between or behind buildings. So he had nowhere to sleep. As he reaches there, he sees all unfriendly people. Nobody was friendly with him, and there is no place for him to sleep over there. And in the end, he spent the night in the corner of an alley where he hoped he could come to no harm. He hoped that nobody can harm him over there. The next morning, Dick woke up cold, miserable, and very hungry. He wandered around begging for food, but again and again people shouted at him, "Go away, you lazy fellow." "Be off with you," and aimed angry blows at his head. At last he collapsed in the street and lay there, too weak to look further for food. Then the next morning when Dick gets up, he wakes up and he was very miserable and hungry. And as he was wandering here and there, begging for food, people ill-treated him, and always people shouted at him that, "Go away, you lazy fellow, be off." And so, as he was very hungry, he collapsed in the street and lay there, too weak to look further for food. By chance, Dick had fallen in front of a house belonging to a rich merchant called Mr. Fitzwarren. Means luckily or fortunately, Dick had fallen in such a place where there was a house, and a rich merchant's house, and in front of that house he fell down there, and the rich merchant's name was Mr. Fitzwarren. The cook was trying to drive Dick away when Mr. Fitzwarren returned home from inspecting his ships. So Mr. Fitzwarren, he was inspecting the ships. He used to work there, and then the cook was trying to drive Dick away. By chance, what happened? By chance, Dick fell in front of his house, and there the cook was, and he asks his cook to first initially give him food and give him the place to stay over there. He stopped and said to Dick, "Why don't you work if you need food?" He stopped Dick and said he should work somewhere. "I would work," said Dick. Dick said that he will work there as he gets the work somewhere or job somewhere. "But I know nobody who will give me anything to do." "Take him into the kitchen," Mr. Fitzwarren ordered the cook. Mr. Fitzwarren ordered the cook to take Dick to kitchen, feed him first, and then find some work for him. So Dick was given a home and a living. Dick was given a home and the place to stay over there. He had a small corner of the attic to sleep in, and his job was to help the cook with all the pots and pans in the kitchen. So Dick was provided a house to stay there and his living, and he had a small corner of the attic. Now here attic means spread over or occupy in large numbers. So by that person he was given a job, and the cook helped him by giving him pots and pans in the kitchen. Dick's life should have been much better than before, but he still had two difficulties to face. Now, when Dick was in a difficult situation, when he did not have food to eat, then in this situation, Mr. Fitzwarren helped him in all the ways, along with his cook. And in that, he was in a better condition. And in that situation, he had to face two difficulties. The first one was The attic he slept in was overrun by rats and mice. Now, overrun means spread over or occupy in large numbers. So, wherever the place was given to him to sleep, there rats and mice overran. At night, they scampered all over him and kept him awake. At night, scampered, ran here and there, all over him and kept him awake. Because of the rats and the mice used to scamper, so because of them, he was awake. He was not able to sleep well. After a time, he solved this problem by saving the few pennies he was paid and buying himself a cat. Now, as Mr. Fitzwarren, he used to give him a small amount of salary, and from that salary he used to save the few pennies which he paid to him, and in those saved pennies he bought a cat for himself. In no time at all, the cat chased away all the rats and mice, and Dick was able to sleep peacefully. In no time, the cat chased away all the rats and the mice, and so because of that, Dick was able to sleep peacefully. The other difficulty was not so easy to overcome was the cook's bad temper. She shouted and screamed all day and would scold Dick and hit him with a wooden spoon even when he was working as hard as he could. Now, the second difficulty he faced was the cook who always helped him. She was of very short-tempered lady. She was a very short-tempered lady, and she used to get angry very soon, and she used to shout on Dick, scream on him all the day, and scold him all the time, and hit him with a wooden spoon even when he was working. Though he worked hard, but still the cook shouted on him, hated him, and so on. One night Dick decided he could stand it no more. Then, as he was fed up because the cook gave him lot of trouble, so he decided to take a move or to go from there. Early the next morning, before the cook was up, he set out with his cat to seek his fortune elsewhere. Now, because he was fed up of that cook, and so he decided to go from there. And so the next morning, before the cook got up from there, he set out with his cat to seek his fortune elsewhere, means somewhere else. He wanted to seek his fortune. The two of them walked as far as Holloway. Now, Holloway means a large prison for women in North London. A large prison for women in North London. So, on their way out of London, then Dick sat down on a stone to rest. Now, as he tries to seek his fortune elsewhere, the two of them, the cat and Dick, the two of them walked as far as Holloway on their way out of London. Then Dick sat down. As they both go, he sat on a stone to rest. It was the 1st of November, All Saints' Day, and the church bells were ringing. When he was tired, he sits on the stone and rests there. And that day, when he started his move from Mr. Fitzwarren's house, that day was the 1st of November, All Saints' Day, and the church bells were ringing. As Dick sat and listened, it seemed they were ringing out a message for him. And so, what was that message? Turn again, Whittington, thou worthy citizen, Lord Mayor of London. Now, here, thou means you. Lord Mayor of London said, Dick, I should like to be Lord Mayor and ride in fine coach. I can put up with a few scoldings from the cook if that is what is in store for me. Now here, put up with means tolerate. Luckily, they were able to slip back before they had been missed. So, luckily, as he thinks that Mr. Fitzwarren is trying to call him again back to his place. So, Dick and his cat retraced their steps to Mr. Fitzwarren's house. Now here, retraced means backtrack, means he goes back. Luckily, they were able to slip back before they had been missed. Now, Mr. Fitzwarren used to send ships far across the sea to trade with other countries. He would load a ship with goods for the captain and ship's crew to sell faraway places, and then they would bring back goods that could be sold at home. Now here, Mr. Fitzwarren, he used to send the ships far across the sea. Why? To trade with other countries. He would load a ship and goods for the captain and ship's crew. Now here, crew means a group of people who work on and operate a ship or aircraft or extra, to sell in faraway places, and then they would bring back goods that could be sold at home, the goods which were brought from there and sold at home. So here I shall stop here. In the next class we will move on to page number 8. Thank you.